So this is about my thoughts and plans for this coming year of 2024. I know it's almost the end of January and I'm just getting around here. Oh, that's my life. So I have been thinking about things for several months actually, and there's quite a few things that I would love to be able to do. I'm quite sure they will not happen because there's just me. I can only get so much done in a day. So I've really been thinking about what's the most important stuff. This is the little backyard garden. It's right here behind my house. At one time, this framework was a little greenhouse, and it worked really, really well for the first few years. But as you can see, it's kind of gotten out of whack and out of shape with the board warping and things kind of coming apart. And then what happens is, if there's plastic on there, we get a big heavy wet snow and it sags and it's a mess. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to go ahead and leave this framework up here for right now. Probably the next couple of years anyway, and just let this be a trellis. So current plans are there will be squash in this line of compost and stuff later when it warms up. I'm considering right now about cleaning out the inside of there and putting in some compost and maybe starting some peas, crop of spring peas. There is actually a lot of wasted space in this whole garden area. In the past, those blue tubs down there at the end, I've grown peas and things in those, especially when I had the little greenhouse. I could have peas like all winter, and that was really cool. So this area needs cleaned up and reworked and redone and become more efficient at growing some plants and things. The greenhouse frame, this is a chintzy greenhouse frame. It is lightweight. It served me very well over the summer with shade cloth on it. All the blue tubs and buckets had tomato plants in it, and we did pretty good. So I've thought about getting it straightened up and like building end walls and adding in some extra supports and things. That will probably not happen this year. I just am not going to have enough time. However, I'm just waiting for it to get a little warmer with a very low chance of a heavy wet snow, and then I will put the cover on over it for starting a lot of spring vegetables and things in. But the frame is not going to hold up to a wet, heavy snow, so I am not going to do that just yet. These are the 3 little rice beds that Digger and the Javelina tore up. There is still some life in there. I'm debating on just pulling it out and redoing it all, or trying to salvage some things. But the cats are playing in there now too, so I will probably, I don't want to put shade cloth back up because I don't want to shade the plants this time of the year. I want to have as much sun as possible, but I have some bird netting and I might use that instead. I got plants in pots and things that need potted up into bigger pots and put other places and stuff like that. Lots of junk to clean up, so that's going to be a big focus this year in all areas, is cleaning up junk, getting rid of the garbage. So talk about wasted space. I have in the past had large tubs and pots up on top of that concrete wall. One year I grew sweet potatoes that way. So that is something I will be doing this year. Big pots and tubs on top of that wall. And then there is sort of a little planting bed right here with another little concrete and rock wall in front of it. The dirt in there is not real good. It's the basic caliche around here. and the little wall in front has kind of been disintegrating. So I can't just like add to the soil or anything. Plus we've got some bad weed trees growing up in there that I need to get cut out and get rid of. But what I could do is if I can get the weed trees out of there and clean up the junk, and then I could put more pots and things just on that, like on a shelf. So we can do that. I'll be working in here. I have decided to go ahead and grow in pots in this area again this year because of the root knot nematodes, since I still have some in some spots in this area. But I think maybe this will be the last year for nematodes. We have some new information and some new things to try out. This whole area back over here, full of weed trees, and a lot of the hill has slid down and is up against my patio wall, and all of that needs cleaned out. That will probably not be a high priority. I will try to work on that as I have a little bit of time and energy. The falling down shed is falling down all by itself, so it is still got a lot of junk inside. A lot of which belongs to my son, so I'm going to try and get him to come a couple of times when the weather is better and help me get this cleaned out. As you can see, most of the roof is gone, and there's some of this just needs to go to the dump or the recycling yard. Some of it is salvageable and could be used for various things, but once that's done, I would like to get the shed tore down. Probably won't happen this year. I need to get out here. I have 2 little chicken coops. I do want to sell these 2 coops because I'm not keeping bantam chickens anymore, and they really aren't big enough for my bigger birds, and that'll open up some space here. This is mostly junk, and my wood cook stove that needs to go in my house that's sitting under the tarp. Itty bitty baby greenhouse. Lots of junk, lots of wasted space. Now, part of the issue here is that with Digger and the goats, everything important will have to be fenced off. So my thinking though is that if I can move the chicken houses, clean up the junk, I have more, hello, can't talk. I have more fence panels. I could section off a little place up here around the greenhouse and grow more things in pots, do a little nursery area. Just trying to get things cleaned up around here is a chore. So, I own actually 20 acres up here, so most of all of that up there that you see belongs to me. It's just not very usable. That's a big fencing project to be able to get any use out of that for the goats or anything. I don't know that any of that will happen this year or not. In the meantime, we're using this area for composting all the goat manure and stuff coming out of the girls' pen. I would like to get this straightened up. Maybe put a nice gate across that back instead of those pallets. I'm kind of worried about Digger either knocking the pallets down or climbing over them or something like that. So I do want to kind of get that fixed up. Lots of brush to cut back. Lots of maintenance that needs done. All right, this is I call it the crossing. There are 3 large culverts under my feet right in here for the dry wash. Mostly this is just junk and stuff that needs picked up, put away. I do need more of a windbreak because the wind just comes wailing off that hill and right up in through here. That's part of what those sticks those sticks are tied to the fence, and that's part of their purpose, is to be a windbreak. I'd like to add in some bamboo or some lilac hedges or something like that to help with that. So I don't know, will I get enough hours in a day this year to work on that project? I don't know, we'll see. Let's see here. This little garden space did have a fair amount of nematode issues last summer. I am working on that. I can grow in here over the winter while the soil is cool, as long as the soil's under, I don't remember now, 50, 60 degrees. I think it's 60. The nematodes won't be active, so I'll get quite a bit of production out of here this spring, and I'll be working on upping the biology, getting a lot of trace minerals in here, getting the right biology to help deal with the nematodes, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. If the nematodes show up, then I'll take all the, I'll let all the plants go and probably put in a cover crop of mustard greens and marigolds, and we will chop them into the soil and cover them with plastic and let that cook down and see if we can fumigate them out. That's my barn and the hill pen that I haven't worked on in, gosh, probably a couple of years now, because I've been putting out one dumpster fire after another. I would like to get up there and get that finished so we could start using it, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So right here, this little garden, I would love to put a permanent greenhouse here, made with like salvage doors and windows and things, but that's going to require a lot of heavy work because that hill is sliding down in there. And what I would have to do is come up here, probably pull the back fence out and dig a nice big deep trench and put in a big hefty retaining wall, which could also be like the back wall of a greenhouse, and then more rock and concrete walls around the area. So again, probably not this year. One of my other thoughts has been that maybe the kennel, which has a roof kit on it that I use as a milking area, if I moved it up here, it would be easier to bring the girls in and out for milking without them escaping and running over to the boys' pen when they're in heat. And then maybe I could add on some kennel space in front of Digger's area there. But all the panels that I have left are 10-footers, which puts me probably at least this far over, which means that all of this stuff has to get moved and changed around so that I would be able to walk around the extra kennel space. Another game plan for this, and I would like to get it done this year, is to get the driveway cleaned up. Let's show you the driveway. So there's the driveway. To get all of that mess cleaned up so we can drive a vehicle up here. And my idea actually was to be able to have my hay guys actually drive forward and come up this way, and then they could back up and I could have some space over here opened up for the hay to go in. So I don't know where we'll be by the end of the year, but every day I try to do at least a little bit of something to make some kind of forward progress. Well, I had gone all around the yard and did a bunch of video about plants and things I wanted to do. Some for this year, some I know I can't possibly get to this year. But, you know, I have no idea how much of that could possibly happen. So, I'm probably going to trash most of that. And I've been thinking and contemplating and have come to some conclusions. There's just me. I'm only going to be able to do as much as I can do. And I think right now, rather than making some big elaborate plans and going, okay, I want to do this and I'm going to do this and this and this and this to get there and stuff like that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some broad categories. And then we will work on those as we go along. And those broad categories are when the junk and the trash, because they're starting to drive me nuts. I have a lot of valuable real estate that I can't utilize because I can't get to it, you know, or I can't, or it's not usable because it's full of stuff. So that's going to be an ongoing item probably for the entire year. The next thing is efficiency. There is just me. And I have a lot of things going on. I have a part-time job. I have the goats. I have the chickens. I have gardens. I do a big plant sale every spring. I make goat milk soap and goat milk lotion. I do all of these different things. So some weeks there's just not enough hours at all to manage everything and get on an even keel. So I need things to be more efficient. And that ties back into getting the yard cleaned up and the junk gone. Hi for you, cat. Yeah, hi for you, cat. Because, for instance, twice a day, I take hay to the goats. And right now, I take 2 bags of hay to the girls, and then I walk back down to the haystack and walk 2 bags of hay up to the boys. Well, I could make one trip if I used my wagon. And I did finally get my wagon emptied so I could use it. But now the issue is I can't pull it through some spots because the trail has got too narrow, because there's too much junk. So as I go along and I get things cleaned up, I will be able to do more efficient little things like that. And I don't think that it's going to be big, huge things that will make things better. I think it will be the small little things, that 2 seconds here and that 5 minutes there, that will make a difference. Then the third broad category is going to be water. Now, that involves different things, different directions. So first is holding on to all the water I can in the soil, which means mulch. So there will be a big emphasis on mulching everything, everywhere, including the pathways and the sides and the edges and the empty corners and any place else that I can possibly put mulch down, just to keep the ground from drying out from evaporation. And then the next thing will be getting gutters on all the roofs that I possibly can, and some water tanks. I have a few of those already. I used to have a setup on the back of the house,
But some of that got tore up in the wind and whatnot. And I made a couple of mistakes when I put it up the first time. So I need to go back and fix things up and do some repairs, maybe some replacements, and get things more situated so that I can catch more water and not have it running off down the driveway where it's not going to do anybody any good. And so I think, yeah, I think that's going to be the plan for this year. The overall plan, the big broad categories. And then what's that going to look like? So what's that going to look like? Well, here's an example. I'd like to get all of this junk up out of the driveway here so that I could actually drive the car up at least to the end of the shed to unload the feed and not have to haul it so far, carrying it right now. Or I could unload it here and put it in the wagon and pull it up to the goat's grain and stuff up to the milk area. Yeah, and trash just needs to go away. And then my salvage building materials and various other things just need to be consolidated and stacked up neater and stuff like that. Of course, it doesn't help. The digger climbs on everything and throws things around, and then the wind blows and throws more things around. So yeah, so this is going to be a big endeavor, a little bit at a time, though. I've already done some work in here, and it's helped. I just need to keep going. And then with the rainwater, I will start with mulching in the gardens, which I've already started in garden areas. And then as I accumulate and acquire more mulch materials, I can work on mulching the pathways so that they will actually absorb water instead of becoming creeks when it rains hard. So I think that's going to be the basic plan for this year. It's just getting more efficient, getting more mulch and conserving water, and getting things cleaned up. So what are your plans for this year? Are you going to make a big expansion? Are you going to start a new project? What are you thinking about?